Oh, it's you. Come on in. Welcome to the Scum Bar. Welcome to Scumbar Podcast Marvel Movie Marathon, where we go through the 22 films in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, starting with Iron Man donning his first suit and ending with Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet. We're going to talk Iron Man, Captain America, who? And everything in between. I'm your host, Captain Mattbrush, and with me today is Groot himself.
I am Groot.
Are you?
Those are pretty much, that's what he does.
That's about it. Yeah, that's
Right.
about all the noises.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Anth0z. How's it going?
Hi, Anth0z. How you doing?
How you doing?
That's about the best that you can be doing, is doing. So
Yes.
Yeah, I'm happy about that.
It's black or white. It's either you're doing or you're just not doing. So I'm doing.
We're using Zoom right now to communicate with each other, and it did this awesome thing where your picture-in-picture just went to like the corner of my screen, so I can look at my script while we're doing this. So that's amazing.
Perfect.
I love that.
Zoom is the way to go.
It is. We're zooming. Anth0z, I'd like to give a warning to all the audience listeners here, the audience listeners. The Scumbar podcast will contain spoilers for this movie and the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. So, watch out, because those spoilers be real, yo.
Yeah, and watch the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because then there won't be any spoilers.
And you'll know what we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
This week we're going to go and talk about 2014's Guardians of the Galaxy, starring Chris Pratt, Zoe Saldana, Dave Bautista, Vin Diesel, Bradley Cooper, Lee Pace, and Michael Rooker. Directed by James Gunn, as we know now.
Does Karen Gillan not get a credit for this?
I don't know who that is.
Oh, that's Nebula.
Oh, well, I was looking at the first 7 or 8 that I could grab off IMDb, but you can't just say starring and then throw everyone that's in the movie.
Well, yeah, but it says featuring Vin Diesel and Jeremy Renner. I think because it's only voices, right? But I guess they do have starring
okay, well,
roles. However works.
What is her name again? I don't know it.
Karen Gillan?
Karen Gillan. Well, sorry, Karen Gillan, you are now thrown into it as well. So we're going to have to talk a lot about you as well. I planned on not even mentioning her name this whole movie, but now we're going to have to talk about her.
Well, she has now been mentioned. Also, right. I was going to check. Okay, I couldn't remember if it really was Josh Brolin's voice for Thanos, but yes.
Oh, that definitely was Josh Brolin, yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Anth0z, without further ado, why don't you give us a nice little synopsis of this film?
Synopsis summary, CCBs. Yes, that's what I will do. Nearly 3 decades after a close encounter of the fourth kind, the intergalactic outlaw Peter Quill, aka Starlord, steals a precious artifact known as the Orb, intent on selling it. Now, the notorious scavenger has to form an uneasy alliance with his fellow inmates, Thanos' adopted daughter, Gamora, the former criminal Drax the Destroyer, the genetically enhanced creature Rocket Raccoon, and the plant-like organism Groot, to thwart the evil plans of the radical Kree warlord, Ronan the Accuser. Are the mismatched Guardians of the Galaxy of the Cosmos' last hope?
Ronan Kong. Ronan Kong.
Ruh-roh.
I actually like Ronan. We'll get into it, but I like Ronan.
Cool. I mean, he's all right. Yeah.
He's okay. Anth0z, I like to do a thing here before we split our movie here into 3 parts. I like to talk about what it was like when I saw the film back in theaters, back in 2014. Now, I can remember this quite well, actually. I was just getting ready to move. I had just come over to Vancouver at the time, and I was moving my stuff and going through that whole thing, and this was kind of the first theater experience in Vancouver. And it was just a fun little thing, but I remember my friends and I all seeing this movie together, and we were thinking, I was kind of thinking, is this going to be a train wreck, or is this going to be amazing? It's one or the other, because it was Marvel, and they were really trying something unique with this film. And I do remember really liking the film, but I felt like they were pushing Rocket Raccoon on us a lot, which is really funny these days, looking back on that, because Rocket seems so tame now compared to the other stuff we get in Marvel. But I remember at the time, Rocket was the most bizarre thing on screen, and it felt like they were really trying to get us to like him. So I remember not liking Rocket Raccoon that much back then, but I really liked the film. I just didn't like Rocket.
Is it because he was just like so abrasive compared to everybody else?
I think it was just, I don't know. I felt like some of his lines were just really ham-fisted to make you like, I don't know, to make you like him. Like they gave him the lines to be the endearing character. It's hilarious looking back on it now because it seems like Groot was actually what they were trying to go for to get you really into it with the whole baby Groot thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just, for some reason at that time, I felt like they were really like shoving Rocket down my throat, which is funny because my opinion's totally changed on the movie now watching it. But back then in the theater, that's how I felt. What do you think? What was it like when you saw it?
Again, I can't really remember exactly what it was like in the theater because it was so long ago, but I do recall afterwards. Well, I know that I enjoy it. I remember I really liked it. I didn't have any. Let's see. Did I know any of the characters to any extent? No, I don't think I knew any character before the movie. So I guess like because everything was really new, I just enjoyed everything that was thrown at me. I didn't have any kind of preconception to compare to, which I mean I try not to have, but you know it's kind of inevitable sometimes, right? But I do remember, it's funny that you mentioned is when you came here to Vancouver to watch it, because I was thinking back to shortly after the movie had premiered, and I remember I can remember one student specifically, but like several people in general, like some at BCIT that were like constantly listening to the soundtracks.
Yeah, the soundtrack is good study music.
Yeah, it was great. It was and it's not music that was new to me specifically, maybe to some others, I don't know, but like they've always been fun listens, like, you know, the later 80s, mid-late 80s, early 90s kind of music. Yeah. So that was my I guess that's pretty much like my main memory is the music, which, yeah, it's not a bad thing. I think they had a good selection of music, and I think throughout the movie this time watching it around this time, I liked, I think maybe I got more ties or more feelings for having the old school music kind of played throughout the movie.
Right.
So I think I just liked it more because of it.
Yeah, me too, with the ties on the film, the music. I remember watching Guardians 2. I saw it like 3 times in theater, and that's not because it was so good. It just, I was in Salt Lake City at the time, and I had nothing else to do. I was there for work, and I just needed to do stuff at night at work, and I had to get out of my hotel at the time, so I would just drive over to the theater and go watch Guardians, because it was paid for by the company, so right. I was like, okay, so I just kept watching Guardians. And I remember,
specifically paid for your ticket to watch Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes, exactly. Yes. And the popcorn, everything.
Nice.
It's because I wasn't going out drinking like I guess the other staff were doing. So.
I see. Like let's help this guy because he's not having fun with our employees. So let's send him on a movie trip. Just go buy him a ticket.
He's gonna watch Guardians again. So, anyways, I remember really analyzing the film, obviously, because you see it 3 times in like 3 days, by the way. And I thought the music really tied up with the film. I was like listening to the lyrics. I was like, oh, this ties up really well. So, anyways, now watching Guardians, the first one, I did notice the same thing. I was like, oh, wow, I guess I never realized that the music's also trying to tell you something every time. I always thought it was just kind of there and it worked well with the feels. But I realize now the lyrics are also trying to tell you something as the song is cutting in. So
yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned that. I totally forgot about that. But yeah, this is the year that we met, funny enough. So it's this is actually when we first became friends, was 2014. Whoa. So there you go.
Cool.
Look at that.
This was the year that would later become the definition of the beginning of our friendship that would lead towards this podcast. I don't know what I was trying to say there, but I think you got it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into it here. So what we like to do on this podcast, we like to break down the Marvel films into 3 parts, or 3 acts that we call them. Anth0z and I kind of break them down separately, and then we just kind of find where that kind of nice act structure fits. Hopefully we did well this time. Last movie we did pretty well. Nailed it. So we'll try this time and see where we go. Act 1, I named my Act 1, A Starlord is Born.
I love it. Great. I called mine... Okay, so just a preface that I think each of my acts are titled after... Yeah, they're titled after quotes.
Okay.
So this one is the biggest idiots in the galaxy.
Nice.
Yeah.
I am Groot.
Well, that's just as fascinating as the first 89 times you told me that. What is wrong with Giving Tree here?
Well, he don't know talking good like you and me, so his vocabulistics is limited to I and am and Groot, exclusively in that order.
Well, I tell you what, that's gonna wear real thin, real fast, bud.
Oh man, it was weird finding quotes for this film because every quote has like 4 people in the scene.
Yeah.
So it's hard to find quotes that are just 2 people talking. So I think almost all of these are multiple people. But anyways, yeah, this movie is just full of one-liners. It's great. It's a really good film for funny lines. I laughed out loud many times watching this.
And it's not like they're always very like witty or just like well thought out like thoughts that make them memorable. It's just that like it's just like casual conversation and realistic responses.
Well, I think a lot of it is delivery. I think a lot of it is just like
delivery.
Maybe on paper on the script it looked kind of like a regular line, but then I feel like the actors just elevate it to a whole new level, and it's hilarious on screen.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
Yeah. So first scene here, we got 1988 Missouri.
Missouri.
Who's the actress that plays his mom, and why do I always think it's Keira Knightley? I don't know why I always think it's Keira Knightley, and then I look at her face and I'm like, that's not Keira Knightley. But then like later someone's talking about Guardians, I'm like, did you know Keira Knightley played his mom? But I'm like, why do I always think this random trivia is true? I don't think it is.
It was Meredith Quill, Laura Haddock.
Okay, yeah, no, I don't know her. And for some reason, I just feel like I know this awesome trivia, but it's just wrong. I always am remembering it wrong, and when I see this film, I realize I'm wrong.
I think I noticed last night that at a certain angle, she kind of looked like Natalie Portman, so I was getting so confused.
And Keira Knightley and Natalie Portman look similar, so, yeah.
Oh, yeah, certain angles. I think it's like in the mouth or something.
This scene is, like, heartbreaking. When the scene finished and Peter gets abducted by the aliens, it just kind of, like, pauses. And I just went like, holy acting. Like, we haven't seen acting like this in a Marvel film for a while. This was like everybody, we don't know any of these actors at all. We don't know these people. And like everyone's just jumping off the screen. Like it's crazy. The little boy's like insane with his acting. You can tell so much emotion from his face. The mom, well, unfortunately she's dying, but she looks like just heartbroken. And then the grandfather as well, like really trying to get his grandson to be there for like his daughter. And it's just, there's so much heartbreak in this one scene. It's devastating.
Yeah, it's I was gonna say it's kind of like the opening to Up, but not really. I think because like with Up, that the whole initial sequence is just about them in their past life, and then it just gets to this point where it's just so traumatizing.
Yep.
So I guess it kind of reminds me of that, but this is in a very, I guess much more concise scene because it's much shorter.
Right.
But the kid does a good job of really showing like how much he's struggling with it and how much pain he's in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a different start I think it's a different start for the rest of the MCU that we've seen so far.
Oh, for sure. It's pretty much a superhero origin story, but done in like 2 minutes. It's really quick, but it's good. My only critique, and it's not even a critique, and it had to happen anyway, so it's not really a critique. I just want to point out it is a little weird that this spaceship just happens to pick up the boy. Now, that can be explained with one line of dialogue at any moment, so it's fine, really. But it's kind of strange when the boy just runs out and the spaceship is right there and just picks him up.
Yeah, but we do find out later on exactly why. I mean, not specifically why they were there at that time, but why the Ravagers were there to pick him up.
I don't remember that. Why were they there to pick him up?
Oh, because
his deliver him to his dad, of course.
Yeah.
You're right. I forgot all about that.
Yeah.
So they must have been following him. But it is strange because it's like this giant spaceship in the middle of a field, just kind of there. But UFO sightings are a thing, so I guess so.
Yeah,
sure.
And also it's a movie, so
it is, yeah. So we get this heartbreaking scene, and then to counterbalance that, the very next scene we go 28 years later, not days later. That's a different movie. And so 28 years later, and we go to Morag. I guess is the planet name. I'm gonna butcher these planet names, by the way. And we get this kind of Peter Quill jumping into an Indiana Jones kind of esque scene here, where he's going through the Temple of Doom trying to get this stone. I really love this scene. I remember in the theater, this was like the Captain Jack Sparrow introduction kind of moment. He jumps in, and you're just laughing so hard with this character.
Just having a good time.
Here I am 6 years later, still laughing just as hard as I was in the theater at the same scene. Like it's really well done, and Chris Pratt is so funny to this song that's playing, and he's got the rat thing that he's singing through. Like really well done.
Kicks them, grabs one, uses it as a mic. Yeah, I think this opening scene is such a good. It's such a strong opening for what we know as Starlord. That pretty much paints a picture of him for the rest of the movie, right? Like
definitely,
he's not necessarily like he arrives on Morag and he's looking around as if it's kind of like a big serious kind of thing. There's no comedy necessarily until he turns on his music, but I don't think we get a lot of moments where he's just like super dead serious, or at least he'll be in some sort of super serious moment, but he will be his own comic relief. I can think of, later on when he saves Gamora, but I think it's great to see. I really enjoy seeing that kind of character, rather than having to rely on some other character to riff off and get those responses to pull that humor off. Like, he can just do it all himself, and it's really fun to watch.
Yeah, I agree. And we also learn a lot about how he is with his abilities or / powers, I guess. Because we learn his equipment.
His skills.
Yeah, it's all about his equipment in this. Like, even just while the music's playing, he uses his rocket boost, he goes across. Later when he gets to the stone, he uses that little magnet kind of thing he puts down on the ground. He's using it like he's very
like
intuitive.
The gravity thing.
Yeah. He's very intuitive to like pull it towards the stone, or pull the stone out of the cage it's in. And and then he's got his little blasters, right? And so that's what we need to see next is apparently this guy's name is Korath the Pursuer. I don't remember that, but we used to joke about this when we started this podcast, which is hilarious. But who? Scooby-Doo?
I had to double check because I know that Digimon Honso, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right, but the actor's name, like the actor for Korath, like he's also in Captain Marvel, but the much younger version, because that takes place like centuries before or just years before. But I guess so he plays the same character. It just happens to be that now, I guess because he's working for
Ronan. Actually,
it's weird. Like, why would I wonder if he worked for Thanos instead of working for Ronan, because Thanos is the one he does all the surgical modifications. Like, he did it on Gamora, did it on Nebula.
Yeah.
And I can see, Korath has some, but I can't see that. Enough. Yeah, but I can't see that Ronan would be the one to be doing that. It seems, at least it doesn't seem like it was set up for that. But anyway.
Well, when he comes in to try to get him, you get some great dialogue here, which also explains a little bit about who Peter Quill is now as Starlord. Starlord, man. Like,
wait, and like, you might know me by another name, Starlord.
He's so excited in that moment.
Like, and he's trying to be kind of serious, but then he cuts it by himself to like pull off the humor on his own. Like,
for sure,
Starlord, man.
Yeah, come on, man. But even like when it comes down to the action, which it's guns a-blazing pretty quick, he can think quickly, right? The shot
he's pretty confident.
Him. The shot misses him, blows up the wall behind him, and he just instantly lies down, uses the rocket boost, and goes out of the room. It's really well done. So I like that. And not only that, when he's being chased later on, and the guards are all chasing him back to his ship, he uses that gravity thing again as a weapon, and it's so smart to show that he's just thinking all the time about what to use next. And just throws it down, all the guards get stuck in the gravity thing, that's awesome. And then gets in his ship and starts trying to go away. And I don't remember any of this, but man, when Korath got that big like rocket launcher thing and started getting ready to shoot him and stuff, I was genuinely like really excited in that moment, because like, what's gonna happen? Like, I kind of forgot, and I was like, oh, this is crazy. Like, and he barely gets away. I was like, oh, that's cool. So
and then it gets stopped by that geyser.
Oh yeah.
Which kind of felt like it was coming from miles away, just like the way that this movie was set up already, which is fine. I think it ended up fine that he's not necessarily the most yes, he can think on his feet, but like, he's not like an escape artist kind of thing, right? He's he doesn't know the ins and outs of everything. He's a very flawed person / half human kind of thing, and we don't need him to be perfect, right? So I think the way he is great.
Well, since I mentioned it earlier, I guess it is kind of like a Captain Jack Sparrow-esque figure from like the first Pirates.
Actually, yeah, you're right.
Like, he's you wouldn't call him like the best escape artist, and yet he escapes like 3 times in the first.
He just
film.
makes things work somehow.
Yeah, exactly. Or things just happen to work for him. He works with the tools he gets. So anyways, then we move on to Quill's ship. I love this line where he's like, I'm going to be honest, I forgot you were here.
Yeah.
There's that woman who's like, Peter.
Yeah.
That's
what happened?
I also like how later on in his ship, when she just accidentally, she's like, oh, you're getting a call, and just answers it like any normal person would. And he's like, no.
Yeah.
We instantly get to understand his relationship with Yondu here. And knowing the second film and how much they do with Yondu, it's so great to see so much father-son kind of interaction between Peter and Yondu. I don't remember them calling back a lot of this whole, like, he was the only family I ever had, but he actually does it quite a bit throughout this first film. He talks about him being the only family he ever had, so I like that. It's nice.
Yeah, I actually totally forgot that he starts the bounty on his head like right from the beginning.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
like, what?
Right away.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't believe him though. You know, like the whole time, I don't really believe Yondu that he's like put the bounty on his head. I want him dead. Like I don't think he does. I think he just says that, and his crew calls him out on it too. So.
Well, actually, I don't think he said he wants him dead. I think he said he wants him alive.
That's true. He says bring him back alive, but then he says like I'm gonna. Well, actually, I don't remember exactly the lines there, but yeah, it does. It insinuates that he's gonna kill him there at the ship.
He's gonna do him in.
Okay, so after that, we get our introduction to Ronan the Accuser.
Mm-hmm.
So
the
Ronan,
Accusator. I think that's what I thought he was before. Ronan the Accusator. What is he called? But no. You're right. The Accuser. It's just I'm thinking back to when I first heard of him.
Every time I was typing in Ronan's name here, I kept typing Ronana. I thought Ronana would be like his wife's name.
Ronana, the Accusator.
So Ronan here is talking about, it's pretty much just telling the audience what the actual plot is here. We get an introduction to Gamora, to Nebula, to Ronan, and also, surprisingly enough, to Thanos. So Ronan is talking to Thanos, and we understand now that Ronan is actually wanting to trade this stone, but he doesn't know what it is yet, but we know it to be the Power Stone in the series. And he wants to trade this stone for the execution of the planet Xandar. So I guess the Kree have this whole
peace
bias,
treaty.
the peace treaty, I guess, with them, but there's this whole bias that they want to destroy the planet of Xandar. So, so there's a whole political thing going on in this movie that's already full of like so many characters, and I gotta say, this movie just like it flies by the seat of your pants. Like it just keeps going. Like it's just like it doesn't pause for a second. It just keeps flying. Like
actually, yeah, that's true. It's funny that you mentioned that because I find that it's kind of very frequent. We're introduced to new characters that they're seemingly important to not just this movie, but like we end up finding they're important to the rest of the movie, because the Collector will play a big part later on, and then. Well, I mean, obviously, like throughout this first act, we're introduced to each of the members that would become the Guardians of the Galaxy, and then we found out more about the Ravagers, and there's a lot of it's almost like with Captain America, we had Captain America and Shield. We had those two entities where we be introduced to like a bunch of different characters, but not as much as Guardians.
Well, I mean, if you're coming into this movie, you know nothing. Peter's your protagonist. And who's your antagonist at this moment? I mean, Yondu seems like the bad guy. Now
he seems like he could be, yeah.
Yeah, now we got Ronan, who's the bad guy. We've also got Gamora, who looks like the bad guy, and we've got Nebula and Thanos, who look like the bad guys. And there's all these like bad guys and the one protagonist. It's very confusing. And then we get switching over to Xandar, which we'll get to next year. And we start to meet our, like you said, the Guardians, the true Guardians of the Galaxy here on Xandar.
The biggest idiots in the galaxy.
But like this whole Xandar scene is amazing for introducing your characters. It's a really good job to like show their skill sets as well as make them just kind of like have fun together. It's a very that's what they'll do later on in the Avengers films. I'm talking like Infinity War, but it's a really good formula to just introduce us to these kinds of characters. But anyways, we get to Xandar Pawn Stars here, where Quill goes and tries to sell the Power Stone to the buyer, I guess here.
The broker.
The broker, yes.
The broker.
It's until he drops the name Ronan the Accuser that the buyer says, or the broker says that he won't have any service. I like his little hand wave.
No. Yeah. Doesn't want to be a part of it. I really like this whole scene coming up, like this whole chase scene.
Yes.
That it's so, like, one thing, obviously, it's fun to watch each of their characters and use their personalities are in the chase scene, right? It's not just about their skill, but their personalities are very much in the chase scene. I also appreciate that this whole scene is full of light and color, and it's not like a dark chase scene that you can't really see what's going on. Like, you can see every single thing.
Yep.
And I think it makes a difference. Like it adds to the comedic feel, right? Like,
for sure,
comedy isn't necessarily hidden in dark.
But it's also relatable. I mean, most people know what it's like to be in a city rather than like in a dark hallway or like a dark forest or something where like these runs and chase scenes tend to happen. So it's relatable to all of us. So it's like this crowded city. So it also makes it more comedic because it's something that we can relate to. I do like just before the chase happens though, where he's like, "We had a deal" on the door, and then Gamora's just staring at him. He's like,
an apple or something.
Yeah, he's like, "If there's one thing I don't like, it's a man without integrity." Hi, I'm Peter Quill.
Hi, just turning on the swab. See,
does he say some people call me Starlord? Because if he does, that's just perfect. Like,
I'm pretty sure he says some people call me Starlord.
I think that's amazing.
And so far, nobody calls him Starlord.
She says like nothing. She just kicks him and grabs the stone. Like
she probably has like one line, and I guess that's enough. Yeah.
But it's hilarious. We know her motivation and intention, and we know his personality, and it's enough to make that joke land right away.
Yeah.
We also get the quick Stan Lee cameo where Rocket and Groot are scouting out people, and Rocket makes fun of the old man, the old pervy man.
The old pervy man. Is that how I wrote mine too? I might have wrote. Let's see. Stanley. Where's my cameo? Okay, I'm pretty sure I wrote. Oh yeah, early Stan Lee cameo, old guy with young woman. Well, I meant to write pervy guy, but yeah.
So then we get into the awesome brawl scene. So we've got so many things that happen. Peter with the stone, and then we've got Gamora with the stone running with him. We got Rocket. Yep. Rocket takes out Peter. No, Rocket takes out the girl, Gamora, and then says, "Get what does he say? Like get the guy or something?" And then Groot goes after Gamora. And he's like, "Oh yeah, genders, man."
Yeah, I think he says grab him.
That's it. Yeah, grab him, and he goes after Gamora.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just so fun. I love the moment where Peter's running away at the end, and then Rocket's just like, he gets out the gun, and he's so excited.
I live for the simpler things in life, or something like that, right?
He's like, this is gonna be painful. Just shoots him, and he starts riding in the background. Like, there's a lot of background jokes in this movie that are hilarious.
I love the use of background, like playing off
so
with like.
Funny.
There's like mini focus in foreground, but really like the main focus you want to. Or the main part you want to focus on is the background. Like we get that. Yeah, this was one example. Another one is in like during the jailbreak scene. I think there's one later on in like Act 3. But yeah, I love this, and I think they did a good job with the beginning of. I mean, this is talking about the second Guardians of the Galaxy movie, but the whole opening is all about foreground background.
True.
Focus.
Yes. Yeah, you're
like
right. I forgot all about that.
Switching,
yeah.
and it was so fun. So yeah, I think they do a good job with the cinematography with that.
The brawl ends up ending with the Nova Corps coming in. So the Nova Corps is kind of like the local police officers on Xandar. So they come in and they arrest everybody, and we get that famous scene that we saw in the trailers, the "What a bunch of a-holes" scene. This is where they go to the prison kiln. It's called Kiln. What a bunch of a-holes.
That character, I can't. Sorry, what's that?
Saul.
So Denarian Saul. Yeah, I don't know. That actor had also worked with Chris Pratt on Parks and Rec, I think around the same time.
That's amazing.
They were like, their characters became like super tight friends. Denarian plays, or the actor for that guy, he plays like some royal family relative of like the Queen Elizabeth. And and Chris's character ends up going there for just like, I think just to be sort of like a spokesperson, but they hit it off and they become like super tight. So I wonder if maybe like there might have been some sort of like thing going on with like they're super tight there, and so let's have them act together in Guardians. I don't know,
because he's a comedic actor. Then you got John C. Reilly in there as well as a comedic actor for like this weird police force. So it's almost like they were trying to make the police force like comedic actors just to add more comedy, I guess.
Yeah,
to the
also
movie.
not so serious.
Yeah, I don't know, but it works. It's weird, but it works. So we go to Kiln then, the prison, and we get that scene where we're introducing all the people. We talked about Groot being a genetic species, Rocket being some kind of raccoon.
Genetically modified,
something.
Experiment.
We got Gamora, who is known as Thanos' daughter. So is Nebula, in case we didn't mention that. And then Peter Quill, who's from Terra. Planet Terra is what it's referred to, which is interesting. It's not Earth, it's Terra.
Yeah. Well, Terra's like
dirt.
Is that the Latin word?
Yeah, Latin for dirt, I believe.
I see. Okay.
Or Earth, I guess. I guess you're right. Sorry, Earth is
I don't really know, but I just know I've known Terra for being synonymous with Earth for like since I was a kid.
Yeah, well, it's where the word terrain comes from. So yeah, you're right. So then after that, I don't know if this scene takes place right here, but I knew it takes place somewhere in this first act, so I just threw it in. Yondu eventually goes in and interrogates the Xandar pawnbroker. He goes in there because he's trying to find Peter Quill, doesn't know where he is, and he ends up at the pawnbroker. Where he was initially supposed to be, and I love that little line where he's got the little bobbly figure. Like, I can stick him all over my dash. I love that. I can't tell if you're being serious or not.
Like, oh, he's totally serious. Yeah, it's really funny. And then later on, you see that he's got him like all across his console. It's great.
I love that. Yeah. That's amazing. It's just really funny, very intimidating too. I mean, I honestly thought he was joking, like seeing that for the first time. Later on, knowing more about Yondu, it's just funny watching him now. He's just having fun, and that just makes me have fun. So,
also, okay, I need to know his name because like
Michael Rooker.
Yeah, Michael Rooker. He's amazing as Yondu.
Oh, I know. Like
he's so good.
I liked him a lot in Walking Dead. That's where he got his fame.
He was really good in Walking Dead.
But he's great as Yondu. Like it's definitely where he's just like he's showing his acting prowess there. Like He's got that.
And he does even better in the second movie, I
for
think.
sure. I mean, the second movie really is a Yondu fest, but it's really good for it.
But it's so good.
Yeah, especially that. Well, we'll get into it.
Yep.
Anyways, so we go back to the kiln, and we're in the imprisonment now. So everybody's walking to the prison yard. We find out that Gamora is quite targeted here with all these criminals around, since Thanos put a lot of these people in prison, I guess. Being the daughter of Thanos, or I guess Thanos probably like executed a lot of these people's families and whatnot. So like, so
yeah,
she's
I think it's
not
more
well,
so. It's more so that part. Yeah.
She's not really well liked. And we get the big guy who likes to kind of be like the alpha in this whole prison, goes right up to Peter. I love that moment where he's intimidating Peter, and then you just instantly get Groot throws his like his tendrils or whatever into the guy's nostrils.
Yeah.
And then Rocket's instantly just like addressing the whole crowd. And you
Yeah,
because
he's been through this situation before. Exactly. They know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, it's so funny. Like this, like he even says that he's broken out of prisons before, and you can just feel it with the lines and the way they're acting, and it's just well done. This is what I mean, where the actors just deliver what's on the script. It could be okay if you just read what's on the script, but if you got these amazing actors to just like take it off the page, and that's just what they're doing. It's so good. And actually, I'll take this moment here to talk about this random bit of trivia, but Vin Diesel, while filming this, was actually going through the depression of the
Paul
death.
Walker?
Yeah, Paul Walker death.
Oh.
So he was actually saying that he didn't talk to people much after that, and he was quite secluded. And this was the first movie and first kind of moment for him to start actually grieving, I guess, and going through it, and and kind of, I don't know, kind of like rehabilitating himself. So he really enjoyed the character of Groot, because Groot had this whole nature kind of loving side to him that was really,
very wholesome feel to him.
Yeah, so he really, really enjoyed being Groot, and it's well documented. But he says he's done the line "I am Groot" over 1,000 times. But not only that, he did it in all the languages. So if you watch this in any language, it's all Vin Diesel doing the lines.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so that was really cool.
Interesting. Nice.
So while all the imprisonment stuff is going... Oh, no, I'm sorry, I missed... we also get the scene where Gamora is getting taken away, whisked away by all the prisoners at night. We get a really good moment where Peter's off to go save her. So he's obviously got this natural kind of hero tendency that we've already known about him, but here it is again coming out. And even Rocket, a little bit curious. He's like, Peter, where are you going? You know, he's trying to make sure that he knows where Peter is, but there's almost this bit of sincerity there in that line. I really like that. And then we get this awesome scene where we get an introduction to Drax the Destroyer.
We kind of got a glimpse of him earlier.
Yes.
Because when...
just a visual glimpse.
Yeah, and again, like, it was kind of... Actually, I really like the reveal of it, of him, because, you know, Gamora's already in her cell, and then she's just being bullied by all these other cellmates, and then as they spread apart, then we see, again, like in the background, small focus, and there's this big hulking guy just sitting at the table watching, just observing everything. But I think I like that about him. I liked how the reveal for him was like just after like a whole bunch of like, I don't know, like painful moments, then wipe away, and then Drax, he's there.
Apparently,
what does that mean?
When Dave Bautista found out that he was Drax, apparently he broke down crying, and he was so happy to be a Marvel character. Apparently he just that was like one of his big dreams in life. And he immediately called up a voice coach and went like crazy with his voice coach to make sure he could get the dialect down correctly, and then mannerisms. So he focused like crazy on making sure that he could play Drax, which I love because he's more of a fighter than he is an actor. And he really does steal the show sometimes when he's got the lines, and you're just like, I was blown away by him in this film. He really does a good job.
Yeah, he totally does.
But yeah, he comes out here at his introduction where he's talking about the reasons why he's got the scars all over his body based on his children dying and his wife dying. And it's because of Ronan the Accuser. So Ronana, which is really good. He's got a great story that ties into Ronan, which is awesome, as well as Thanos. So that ties him in with the Guardians. And it is funny, while watching it, I actually kind of forgot that we were missing a Guardian here. So he was the missing link.
Yes, he's missing one.
I do love the moment where he's about to kill Gamora. Peter's the one who talks him out of it, but then Peter does the finger across the throat, you know?
Yeah.
Just like, then, when the time is right, you'll get to, and does the finger across the throat, and he's just like, why would I put my finger across my throat?
Yeah.
It's a saying, man. It's a saying. You've heard that, right? He like points to the other guy. He's like, yeah.
I have not heard this. No.
No. One line I don't like, and I wish they cut away, was when he says, I like that knife. When Dave's like, or when Drax is like, he's like, I'm going to keep this knife. I think that's great. If they just cut to the other guy, if they cut to the other guy and he looks sad, I think that's fine. But him saying, I like that knife, it totally... it just like removes it. I don't know. It humanizes this prisoner way too much for me. I don't know why. That's one line. Every now and then in the movie, I'm just like, ooh, should have cut. You know, I just
that was I think in the theater, I think a lot of people did like that moment. I thought it was like it seemed very cliche. Like
I don't know.
The other comedy moments that we've the other funny bits that we've got for this movie, they don't feel as cliche. They feel very very purposeful. But this one's kind of just like, it's like a throwaway, but let's just keep it in.
Yeah, it felt like a Pixar movie to me. It was very much a kid joke, I thought.
And
the movie's not necessarily a kid. It's more preteen, I guess, starting at preteen and it goes to adult. You know, like based on the swearing.
That was my
in this
favorite
movie.
knife.
Yeah. So I don't know. Well, I would have appreciated a cut. Anyways, then we go on to Ronana visiting Thanos. So Ronan is pretty pissed off. He goes off to Thanos, and they're accusing him of not being able to get the stone.
Boy.
Yeah, I just wrote down boy because that's all Thanos really says to him. I love how this villain guy from the first Avengers movie's there, the other one or whatever his name is. And Ronan just like snaps his neck in like 2 seconds. This is why I love Ronan. They actually make him quite threatening. And the reason for it is to make Thanos seem even more threatening. But they make Ronan actually pretty intimidating throughout this movie. He's got quite a bit of power to him, and he's not afraid of anything. I love how he just starts like ripping apart Thanos. And then he goes like, look at me, or like, talk to me, you know, and then Thanos just turns around. And it's amazing. You're really building up this villain starting with this film, and it's really well done.
It's funny that he mentioned the part about the other, because I actually I wrote down something similar, and how we kind of, it's almost like we're led to believe that whoever we're seeing is like the strongest or like the most mysterious, and like we can't underestimate this character. So I think and it's usually with like the Cosmos character. So it started off with the other, because we thought like, oh man, he seems so untouchable, like he can affect Loki and all that kind of stuff. And then we find here that like, oh, he's peanuts compared to Ronan, and Ronan just seems so unbeatable. And then later on we find out like, oh, he's peanuts compared to Thanos. So like there's so much escalation all the way up until Endgame, or Infinity War and Endgame, and I find that it's it's just like, it's very interesting to see how we're focusing so much on what the characters are doing like on Earth, and how they're trying to build up, and like, are they even getting strong enough to face what's going to be coming inevitably in outer space. But like, honestly, it takes all that effort just for them to even reach what is already waiting for them. So I think I like that build up that MCU did. Yeah,
no, I agree. And if we were to see like Loki fight Ronan for whatever reason during this movie, I think we'd be shocked how much Loki can't really hurt him. So it's just an interesting setup. I like what you said about Loki being scared of the other one, because I agree with you on that. It's interesting in the Avengers how that dynamic plays. And now we see Ronan in the same spot, but how much different Ronan approaches it. So so after that quick scene, we know that now Nebula is joining in with Ronan here to go to the kiln to go and take, because the stone is there, to go and find the stone. So the kiln now, we've got the heroes planning over their escape plan. So this is what you were mentioning earlier, where they start planning their escape plan. You know, this is where Rocket says the awesome line of, you know, I need that leg. I think that's amazing. It's just like, I need that leg, and then he needs like a solar battery or whatever, and he needs a key card, I believe. So then we get these hilarious scenes where while they're doing this in the background, like you said, with the foreground background, we got Groot pulling out the panel.
Not just that, but Drax walks up and just stands next to him and watches Groot.
I didn't even notice that.
And I think I like that even more. I just love the fact that like, hey, let's put Drax in there, just watching Groot. That's just like amazing. Interested in what he's doing. It just I find it's like, because Drax is so we find out that he's everything to him is like kind of very literal. Serious. There's like literal. There's no jokes to him. So there's like some sort of like weird curiosity in him. So I just like him being there.
That's funny. Good. But I really like how Rocket's like, so that's the last thing we have to do, because there's a timer as soon as we do it. And then
we go into emergency mode,
As soon as he just says that, Groot just pulls it. It's perfect comedic timing. And then without even a blink, Rocket's just like, or we can improvise. Gamora's
because he's probably also already been through this. He's probably Rocket has already been in this situation before too, right? So I'm sure he knows like, okay, something's gonna go wrong, so they're gonna have to improvise that. It always happens.
I also just love watching Starlord, how seriously he's like, I got the leg. He just doesn't realize what it's for. So then we get this great scene where Gamora is trying to fight the one dude for the key card and stuff, and we've got Rocket and Groot with the amazing they're trying to defend themselves from all the guards, and Drax looking at Rocket, realizing he needs a gun. Drax fights off a few of them, throws a gun to Rocket. That's amazing. Like, it's so fun to watch. It reminds me of watching the Avengers or something. And then just cuts to Chris Pratt just trying to get the leg from the guy. You need my what?
Oh man, transfers him what, 30,000 credits or something?
30,000 credits, yeah.
I wonder how much that is in like Canadian dollars or US dollars.
Probably 4.
That's okay.
Canadian
We don't have
dollars.
to figure. 4? Okay, that's fair. I figured it must be like enough to replace the leg.
Yeah, it's got to be. It's probably $30,000. You know.
Yeah.
Probably
okay.
1 to 1. So we get this amazing scene where they all get into the giant tower, I guess, in the middle of it, and I love how they're all crammed in this small space, and you get so many jokes. There's so many jokes, you know. And then there's the joke of things will go way over Drax's head because he takes everything literally. Yeah, and he's just like, nothing goes over my head.
My reflexes are too fast. I will catch it.
It's so good. And just like Gamora being like, I'm stuck with a bunch of idiots. Like,
yeah,
it's
this is where this is my act title, The Biggest Idiots in the Galaxy. Yeah.
But then at that moment, I really like for some reason the one dude's hitting all the windows with his soldiers. He's getting them to shoot the rocket at the windows, but for some reason he's like left side, then right side, then center side, and then all rockets at once. Like, it's very strange, but I like the tension. But it is very strange that he shoots it in that order, and then just like then now all rockets fire. But I love the tension. As soon as you see the glass piece fall out, and you're like, oh my gosh, like. But Rocket saving the day by changing the gravity is amazing. That's a really good scene, watching everybody start to float in the air. And not only that, but the robots from the prison all start to come down and take the watchtower away, which is really cool.
I wonder, like, I'm so curious to know. I feel like everybody got some sort of enough origin to understand why they are the way they are.
Yes.
With Rocket, I don't feel, well, maybe with Groot too, but with Rocket, I don't feel like we really got that. Like, we know that he was modified, but to what extent and why?
I think they purposely leave it out, though. I think they want you to question it a little bit. Because the thing with Rocket is he needs a story arc, and his story arc is that he always feels like the outlaw or the outcast that nobody can trust. And that's why he hates it when people call him vermin or rodent and all that stuff, is that he feels like he's not wanted. And that's the whole conclusion for Rocket in the end, is that he ends up making quite a good relationship with one of the police officers, as we see. And not only that, even at the very end, when all Drax does is put his hand on his head, and Rocket accepts it right away, because that's all he truly wanted, was just someone to see him as a friend or an equal, right?
Yeah.
And so, without getting into backstory on Rocket, they purposely flesh out his act structure, which is really well done, so that we can leave Rocket's history to a different movie. Now, surprisingly enough, they don't really go into it in the second one either. But
yeah, so we might not ever get it, but I will.
I don't know how much we need it, though. I mean, we
don't really need it.
Maybe not. So,
yeah,
who knows?
I think that's true.
So they escape the prison in this amazing watchtower thing that they've got, and that's actually where I end the first act.
Same thing with me.
Thank the Lord.
Pretty sure. Actually, let me see, because the last note I wrote was Starlord gets his Walkman.
Oh yes, I'm sorry.
And then Drax is like, "You're an
behold."
imbecile.
I do like that. Behold.
Yeah, behold. Yeah.
Oh man, that's really good. When he comes in, he's like, "Companion, what did you retrieve?"
Yeah. Oh boy.
You're an imbecile.
Yeah.
No, really well done. I like that. It's really good. I was actually saying to my fiance at the moment, I was like, man, it means a lot that he gives the stone to Gamora and lets her go into the ship. I was like, wow, he really trusts him right away. I was like, that says a lot about Starlord. And then she looks and it's not there.
Yeah.
Instantly, I'm like, oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, sleight of hand. And I think, like, at first I think in the theater it was, like, he probably wanted to get away. Like, just leave on his own. But then, no, it's like, I think he needs the assurance because, like, they know, like, they won't leave without that. Yes. So if he has it, then they won't leave without him, right?
Yeah. I did forget to mention, too, there's a little note I wanted to make. The stone itself is quite a MacGuffin in this film. It's quite an object that everybody needs. You know, it's one of those movies where there's just that one object that everyone needs to get. And movies get kind of railed for this a lot, for using this trope a little bit too much. The Rise of Skywalker is a big one for that, where it's just full of all these little MacGuffins. It was like we had to find the Wayfinder, then we had to find like the thingy. I don't know. There was just a lot of it in that film. And with this film in particular, I think they did a really good job of calling it out. So Peter actually calls out, he's like, this stone's got a weird, and then he mentions like 3 references to 80s films. He's like, kind of thing about it, hey? And then everybody's like, yeah. They just kind of like acknowledge it really quickly. And I thought that was very smart, because they had to make this movie about the stone, and it works really well in this film. As again, I don't mean to call this back to Pirates of the Caribbean so much, but I'm actually finding this film to be quite a bit like Pirates of the Caribbean. But it does remind me of the necklace from Pirates of the Caribbean. How everybody's kind of after this one gold medallion.
Like the coin? Yeah, right. Ah, okay.
Yeah. Anyways, so let's go to Act 2, which I named Know Where.
Nice. I named mine Folks Who Have Lost Stuff.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's when, I can't remember exactly when it takes place, but it's when Star-Lord is talking to them and he's like, you know what we are? Losers.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm a warrior, an assassin. I don't dance.
Really? Well, on my planet, we have a legend about people like you. It's called Footloose. And in it, a great hero named Kevin Bacon teaches an entire city full of people with sticks up their butts that dancing, well, is the greatest thing there is.
Who put the sticks up their butts?
No, they didn't actually. It's a phrase.
That's so cruel. Oh, I love that. That's such a good moment. I love how she's like taking everything he says so seriously too. Like she's really interested in him, and I love that. And we get a nice callback to this later on too, which is great.
I like this. Okay, that's one thing that I like about the contrast of characters is that we have these ones that are less so. Well, I guess Peter's the only one that's the most human, but Gamora, Drax, they are the least inclined to like understanding humor and stuff like that, just because like their whole lives, I guess they've been so serious, or like that's just their culture.
Right.
So I like that when Star-Lord is trying to have these conversations with these people, that those are the responses that he gets. Like it can't be helped, and I think they're played out really well.
No, I agree, and I think it's really just fun to watch their chemistry as it develops. It's probably one of my favorite relationships in all of Marvel. It's really up there with Tony and Pepper. It's very good to watch these two.
Actually, it's funny.
Yeah. So anyways, we start with Nowhere, where they kind of drop down onto this whole kind of spaceport. I really like the look of Nowhere, how it was like a celestial skull or whatever that they go to and becomes a spaceport. Really well done. There's a lot of history in this movie that you don't get explained to you, but it makes it so much more mysterious. It reminds me of like Dark Souls or like Bloodborne. Those games are really popular because they don't tell you a lot about the places you're in. They just throw a bunch of it at you, and then just you pick up a sword, and the sword will be called like, sword of, and it'll be someone's name, but you don't know who that person is, and there's a little bit of lore of it hidden somewhere else, and you can just kind of learn. You pick up little tidbits of things going on, and it builds this huge world. So Guardians does this a lot, and I love that. Just the celestial being thing, it felt really fun.
Yeah, I like that aspect too, and I like how like the parts of like leftover of that head becomes so rare that it becomes populated by people that need to like try to mine for all the materials and stuff, and like that's really interesting. Like just the concept of like mining an entity, like a body, right? So
the whole gang ends up going to a kind of like a bar, I guess. It seems like a bar, so I'm just going to call it a bar.
It's like a dive, yeah.
Yeah, it's apparently called the Boot of Jemiah, although I don't know at all where that was referenced. I just saw that on the Wikipedia, so... the Boot of Jemiah.
Boot of Jemiah, okay.
So we get some great scenes of some, Drax and Rock and all that, drinking, having fun, celebrating, really. Betting on their creatures fighting, whatever those things are.
The little rat dinosaurs,
Yes, I have won as I win at all things.
Now let us continue to put this liquid into our bodies.
That's so good. And then obviously the scene that you and I talked about with Gamora and Peter, they've got them also outside talking about it. I really like this scene where Peter's really talking like, he's talking about gas prices. He's like, oh, the gas is so expensive here and stuff. Just random lines like that, it really draws me into the universe. I don't know why, but when he starts talking about gas prices, this place seems real to me. It seems like an actual spaceport. I love it. So small lines like that just really world build everything. So I really like it. And then they just start breaking down about family. Gamora asks him about the Walkman and what it means to him. And he talks about his mother. It's funny that he can't mention that his mother died. He just says when I left. And he never actually says she died. So yeah, you're right. This whole concept of Peter take my hand from the beginning of the film just kind of keeps going on throughout the film, and it's really well to make Peter's story structure also continue of accepting family. So it's good, and I like the scene a lot. It does a really good job of having them listen to music. They almost have a kiss It's really nice until she pulls a knife on him.
Yeah, it's a nice moment, actually, like a nice set of moments, because we get Starlord. This is kind of like the first time I feel like he's kind of confiding in somebody. Like he's kind of on the edge of telling Gamora, like why he is the way he is, or why he has this thing from his mom. Gamora actually confides in him a little bit, and then shortly after, I think because they hear like all the ruckus going on, then they go to find out that that Groot and Drax are kind of scuffling, and Rocket pulls out his guns and whatever, wants to like stop everything, and the Rocket starts confiding.
Right. Yeah.
So it's just a whole bunch of like, okay, now we're kind of getting deeper into these characters. It's not just the exterior part, where we're kind of getting to know them a bit more in terms of what it is that they are holding back.
Yes.
So, which is nice, because like otherwise we would have just been going on this whole movie with just thinking like, okay, bunch of people who kind of have like a common threat or common goal have band together. But no, it's actually these people, they have a common it's almost like they have a common struggle or a common pain. They're trying to find their place in the galaxy, in the universe, right? And so that's more so what draws them, as opposed to their goals, I think.
Definitely.
I mean, it could be half, but I think there's more emphasis on these characteristics of them.
Yeah. And with the first act of this film, like I said earlier, goes by so fast. This act is so important to be full of content. It like every line is very important, or else you're going to lose your audience, because they built so much running up here. It's so in danger of slowing right down by them accidentally going to the wrong side story, or just going to that one planet where just the story gets boring after a while, This film doesn't do that. Luckily it keeps finding the right things to throw at us at the right time, and it just keeps running ahead. But this is exactly in the Star Wars-esque movie where, it starts to get boring here. Or let's say one of the Pirates of the Caribbean sequels, and go with that metaphor. But when, it just goes to the wrong location, and everybody kind of just stops watching and gets a little bit bored after a while. But yeah, no, they just keep it going. Like you said, everybody starts showing their true selves, minus Groot a little bit there. But everybody shows their true selves a little bit more here, including Drax. But we'll get to him in a little bit here. So the Collector actually takes in everybody except for Drax, right? Yeah, takes in everybody except for Drax. Drax runs off to go talk to the telecommunications guy. But the Collector, Karina, comes in and says, he is ready for you now. And, does her little thing and brings in the Collector. I really like Benicio del Toro here as the Collector. He does a really good job. He's a weird guy.
Yeah, he definitely does a really good job.
Yeah.
What's that? Oh, I love his... I need to look up the quote because I want to get it right, but I love his little interaction with Groot.
Oh, yeah.
What does he say? What is that thing there? I am Groot. I never thought I'd meet a Groot. Sir, you must allow me to pay you now so that I may own your carcass.
Yeah,
at the moment of your death, of course. Yeah. It's just such a funny thought. Like, that's what he is. He's a collector, right? So
he just looks at Rocket. Is this your pet?
Yeah.
Just the best. He's saying what we're all thinking.
Yeah.
So I like this. I do like the Infinity Stones introduction here. Really nice.
Yeah.
This is really, in the whole scheme of the MCU, is a very important pivotal scene that explains the stones. And this is why I have a semi-argument here that the Guardians movie maybe should have introduced Phase 2. Because it's not important what happens in Guardians for the rest of Phase 2. But it is important for the rest of the MCU. And it makes the other movies have more importance because the stones are starting to be introduced, or at least recognized.
Yeah, like we know that there's more riding on on the emphasis to get them throughout more of the movies.
We also know more about Thanos, so we know this is impending threat. So when we are watching Iron Man 3, for example, we're talking about the Mandarin, or we're watching Thor 2 Dark World, and we're watching some stupid Dark Elf, we at least are feeling more of this existential threat that's around them. Also, we're interested in the stones that are popping up when we have the ether in Dark World. So I feel like this movie maybe should have just started off the whole MCU, Phase 2. We would have been like, that's interesting, and then gone into our regular heroes, and got to Captain America and all that. But anyways, it doesn't really matter too much, but I do like this introduction a lot. I think it's really smart, and it kind of builds everything for the universe. It's really cool. And then it blows up.
Yeah, I do like how they Canada don't. I like how they I like the what is it? I guess the effects. It's actually it's not just the visual effects, but the audio of when Karina grabs a stone, and we get a little bit more of it later on too. There's kind of like this. But I mean, like, as she's being destroyed, there's like this. It's almost like an echoey kind of audio.
You know how we mentioned? I can't remember what movie it was now, but that one movie where there's that horrific person being. They were like levitating in midair, screaming in pain. I think it was Iron Man 3. But But we were mentioning that scene in Harry Potter 6 when it happens to Angelina, I believe. And that's what this kind of reminds me of when she's grabbing the stone. It's almost like that scream. It's just that there's a bit more vocalness to this one, obviously, but it reminds me of it because we start to see her face deteriorate, and it's like, oh man, like it's pretty horrifying. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, very.
Yeah. So after that, we've now get to see that Drax has summoned Ronana. And Ronana is on the way. Ronan comes down, instantly sees Drax, doesn't really remember him at all, and they fight. In the script, it probably says they fight. But their fight is so boring that we actually have to show off. We actually have to show off the space battle that's about to ensue. So Nebula is there as well, and we got all these like spaceships for this. I don't know, evil army. They have a name, but I don't know it.
The Necrocrafts?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think I read that. Necrocraft sounds familiar. This is a really important scene because it is a battle to break up all the drama that we've been going on in this act so far. So it's a nice battle to get away from it for a little bit. So it's fun to watch everybody fight. But it also introduces a lot of those crafts so we can understand them a little bit better for the last battle in the movie. I really like random things in this battle. Like you got Rocket like barreling through some of the ships just with his own ship. I think that's really smart. Yeah. But you've got Peter like hijacking a ship with a ship. Like that's pretty crazy.
That's really, I like that moment.
Yeah, it's really weird, but it's fun too. And they just kind of is like using it as like a hidden decoy ship. Like that's really smart.
You know what's really interesting? Like so. Peter Quill is the Starlord. He's the one that tells Rocket, like that the ships that they commandeered are industrial grade.
Yep.
Rocket is saying like, I can't do anything. I have no weapons.
Yeah, we have no weapons.
Yeah, and he's like, well, that's not what I'm saying. Like, and he also, so he's hinting to Rocket like how you can use the ships, and he finds another way to use the ships, and I find that I think it's very appropriate for his character who was taken at a young age, so like a human. That I guess as a Ravager got to probably explore a lot of the galaxy, and he has like a whole bunch of knowledge just about like a lot of stuff. And I think like we don't really need to have proof why. I think leading up to these moments, I think we get the proof as it's going on, and because we saw in the beginning, like he can think on his feet, and in this moment he's kind of doing the same thing. Like he knows what is at their disposal, and he's able to figure out like what's the best way to use them. So I like that for his kind of like ingenuity, and title him under the character of like Guardians of the Galaxy, I think is very appropriate. So I like that characterization of Starlord.
Yeah, I agree exactly with that sentiment.
Great, thank you.
The space battle, more of this happens, but then we go back to Drax and Ronan fighting. Ronan kind of just destroys Drax pretty quickly. It's another example of showing how strong Ronan is. In the end, just kind of tossing his body into that orange goop, vat. Whatever that is. Don't even want to know what it is, really. I like the little... sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was thinking, like, this fight kind of... It pretty much tears them down quite a bit, because I think we're sort of led to believe at this point that Drax is supposed to be one of the strongest, or, like, maybe most fiercest? I think he should be, as a singular person in the Guardians group, that he should be somewhat capable of taking on whoever the antagonist of the movie is supposed to be.
Yes.
So then we end up seeing that, like, no, he just gets like beat down like crazy, like in all ways, right? So Ronan is much more, he's not just like stronger, but he's just a smarter fighter. He's just much more tactile.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
So yeah, he takes him out like really quickly, and this becomes kind of the moment where like, okay, so if none of the Guardians are able to do anything about Ronan, what is going to be the thing to stop him? And so far at this point, we're only introduced to the power of the Infinity Stones. So I think it's interesting that like Yeah, because you're saying that. What's the MacGuffin thing?
The
Is that
MacGuffin. That's the term. Is the MacGuffin? I can't remember what that term
Is that
comes
like
from.
Simpsons or?
No, it's from like an old TV show, I think.
Okay.
I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, it is. It's just a term used for like the one object in the film that everybody's using or trying to get. It's just the one all-being object. It's really the ring from Lord of the Rings, right? It's the MacGuffin of the film. So.
Yeah.
Or it's Harry Potter and the MacGuffin.
Right. So I think it's like you said, they used it well. And I agree, because by the end of the movie, when they realize that there's nothing else that they can do,
Yep.
Other than to get it away from Ronan, they never think to use it for themselves, but it ends up being that they are able to, right? So I like that route from this moment, knowing that there's nothing they can do physically of their own power to stop Ronan, and that there has to be some other way to figure it out, but it also kind of happens by chance.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where were we?
So Ronan just threw Drax into a vat of goop.
Oh yes, I'm sorry. Right. So we've got
Nebula
Yes.
blows up Gamora's ship.
Yeah. Yeah, we get the sad
then,
moment
yeah.
where the ship kind of blows up and the stone is taken away by Ronan's crew.
Mm-hmm.
We see it go into that little warp hole thing onto the ship, and
The tractor beam.
yeah, that's right, a tractor beam.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And we've got Rocket telling Quill, we don't have any more time. We got to go back in, or else we're gonna die as well. It's a really sad moment, and I really do appreciate the moment where they take a good solid moment there, a beat before they allow Peter to leave the ship. I also love how he kind of does it reluctantly, but he doesn't do it looking like he's gonna die. I don't know if this means
he's
something.
pretty confident about it, right?
Yeah, I don't know if it means more than we know, but it's just that he's very reluctant to do it, but also doesn't look scared. He just does it. It's just that sheer force of heroic will. Goes ahead and then gives her the face mask so she can breathe, while he just kind of stands there heroically holding her in space. I remember seeing this in the theater being like, what the hell am I watching? But it's explained pretty quickly, or at least it's thrown away pretty quickly enough for us to understand that it's okay. There's more to the story. Plus, they also did give us a little bit of that information at the very beginning with his mom talking about his dad being an angel. So,
yeah, I think she said your dad was full of light or made of light.
Oh yes,
or something.
Yeah.
So I think so we're obviously led to believe from the very beginning that there's
something.
It's something. Yeah, it's implied that his dad probably isn't human, and she's not just going crazy.
Right.
And then so this moment, I mean, like, Rocket is the one who says, no, you'll die in seconds.
Yeah.
But it definitely takes more than seconds. Like, he's out there for quite a bit.
And his eyes go red, which I think is really interesting because his Starlord mask is his red eyes. So I almost feel like it's like him being Starlord without any of his costume. It's kind of fun, but I like the look of him.
That's a cool kind of analogy.
Yeah.
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 Physically becomes Starlord. I mean, he's one with the stars in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's pretty quickly abducted by Yondu because he gave Yondu the instructions to where he was. Good on Yondu. That was fast. That was a fast recovery.
Yeah. And it's funny that you mentioned that. So I think this is actually one... It's like that one thing that we can see how Starlord is actually confident in somebody, in some person.
Yes.
He can rely on this person, on Yondu, to get him exactly in time. Like he has confidence in Yondu for some reason. So I think that's...
Sorry, why does he sound like the kid from Home Alone, though, when he says the line, if you want to get me, come and get me, or whatever? He's like, these are my coordinates, if you want to come get me.
Right.
He just sounds like the kid from Home Alone.
Maybe that was on purpose. Maybe that's one of the, another, kind of reference to
I don't know.
90s pop culture.
Apparently,
or something.
he based his character on Indiana Jones mixed with Marty McFly from Back to the Future. So that's what he was going for throughout the whole film.
I can see that.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
So Yondu abducts him. There's an interesting scene where the Ravagers are talking about executing him. You've got Gamora being, tied up and saying like, no, don't give him any, or don't do it. This is a funny scene because again, I always feel like Yondu's never gonna kill him. I'm watching him and I just feel like there's no way he's ever gonna kill him, even when he's got like the pen thing. I just feel like it's all an act all the time, and he knows it. And I actually think the ending of the movie actually tells us this straight out too. But I think the whole time he's just like, he knows that Peter's gonna try anything to save his own life, and he's gonna give him something, and he's just waiting for that moment.
Let him do that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I love all of that, and I feel like the film's actually trying to get us to that place where we know this, and it's just fun watching it. And I just love every second he's on screen. But watching that, and he does the whistle, and the thing comes out, and like he even does the whistle where you think maybe he's gonna execute him, but it doesn't, and it's like, oh yeah well done.
Very well done. Yeah.
We instantly get... I actually missed a scene here I didn't write down, but we've got Rocket and Drax and Groot talking about how they can't do it. You got an interesting thing where Groot kind of like stabs Drax to get all the orange stuff out of his lungs. It's pretty gross, but it's also pretty cool.
Yeah, it is really cool. And it's funny, like, is Groot supposed to be like really in tune with
the body?
With like sentient beings' bodies and knows exactly like where to like...
He does it perfectly, though.
Surgery and something?
It's crazy. And I just like all the defeat here, but also they have this weird, strange camaraderie between the three of them. I love how there's no Peter there, and yet they still have camaraderie, and they kind of join up to go and save Peter and Gamora, which I really like, because it is the middle of the film already, but it's just that these characters are already feeling like a team, which is nice. So,
right.
And then, so I had to explain that, because now in the next scene at the Ravagers, I can't remember the ship, what it's called, but the rocket comes with the Milano and Groot and Drax to then kind of destroy the Ravager with this giant rocket he's made.
Yeah.
So
I was like, there were so many times I was like throughout the rest of this movie from this moment on, like, oh, this would be a perfect time for this rocket. Oh, this would be a perfect time for this rocket. Oh, this would be a perfect time for this rocket.
I know.
Oh, now they choose to use the rocket. Okay. So,
yeah, it does happen a lot. I do love how Rocket's like giving them. He's like counting down, and he's gonna like shoot the ship. I think it'll be funnier if he like either couldn't count correctly or counted really fast, like started at like 3 or something like really outrageous, you know, like.
But he also like he kind of does something a little off here, like the vocabulary, right? He says like, I'll give you to the count of 5, and then says 5 like right away, which is almost like, oh wait, does that mean like he's not going from like 1 to 5?
Oh yeah.
And it's just like 5. He's skipping all the numbers, but no, he actually starts counting backwards, which is like, wait, what? Yeah.
Yeah. I do love how like Peter has to cut him off. Like, no, we're fine. Like, we figured it out. Like, it's smart when movies do that because it shows you that the writers are thinking. You know, they know what all the characters' motivations are in the moment. And they quickly rectify this by just having the reunited scene with all of them in the little room there. I believe it's in the Milano, and they have your losers speech that you were saying.
That and loser's speech, and then what is this? How does he say it? Great, now we're all standing. We're just a bunch of jackasses standing in a circle. It's just...
Yeah, that's what I mean. When I didn't like Rock in the theater, like, now me watching it, and I've seen it many times since, but still, watching it this time around, I was like, man, like, I loved Rocket watching it this time. So I've totally welcomed and accepted him into my heart, and he's one of my favorite characters by far. He's very good. But no, I do like that camaraderie scene with the team kind of building themselves there when they all say that they don't even mind if they die doing this because they've already done enough, or, you know, the world just needs a team to do something to try.
And at least this way they will be among friends.
Yeah.
They're the Avengers.
Oh, I like Drax. His gets me every time where he's like, maybe I'll get to see my wife and child. And it's like, oh my god, Drax. Like, pulling at my heartstrings here. Like...
Oh, yeah. But does he say it like as thinking like he intends to really die? Or he just means like eventually? Eventually,
he does
like he's
mean
kind
eventually,
of like, he's accepted
like,
that.
He is
like...
really saying that he's not afraid of death because death is like welcomed by him, which is really interesting. So...
Okay.
Like, he fights to avenge them, and yet he doesn't mind dying, which is just... It's very noble, and I like that about Drax.
Yeah.
True. That's my end of Act 2, actually.
Yep, I end mine there too.
Yes, we did it!
Perfect.
We did it! Oh, wow. Okay, here we go. Act 3, mine is called Attack on Xandar.
Nice. Mine's called We're Just Like Kevin Bacon.
Oh, that's good. I couldn't think of anything funny. I was just like, whatever.
That's fine. No, it's good. We should know exactly what's going on. I think Attack on Xandar makes sense.
It does, yeah, but still, it was me kind of writing like, what is this part again? Oh yeah. Citizens of Xandar, behold your guardians of the galaxy. What fruit have they wrought?
Ooh, child, things are gonna get easier. Ooh, child, things will get brighter. You listen to these words. Ooh, child, things are gonna get easier. Ooh, child, things get brighter. They're strike it down hard. Someday.
What are you doing?
Dance off, bro. Me and you. Gamora. Subtle, taking it back.
What are you doing?
I'm distracting you, you big turd blossom.
That scene, I remember that killed the theater. That whole scene, like, you're not expecting it, and it's also so smart.
Not at all.
Yeah.
I know, yeah. In the theater, okay, I do remember this, thinking like, what are they really doing?
I know.
This? But I think I'm glad that they did. I think maybe after watching leaving the theater, I was thinking like, what a weird like distraction ending kind of thing. Like that's like I would not expect that at all.
Right.
But then whenever I think back to it now, I'm just like, I'm glad that they did that. I'm glad they had the right group to do that. Right.
Yeah.
They didn't waste that kind of that scene on like you wouldn't expect anybody from the Avengers to actually do something like that.
No.
You can only expect that from Starlord. So I think, yeah, I'm grateful that they used this crew to do that, and they did it well.
It's also not a cop-out ending, because it's a cop-out ending, and then they fix it with an amazing emotional ending right afterwards. So it's actually really well done. It makes you think, like, really? That's how they're going to finish it off? But no, they do so much more with it. It's really great. It's just the build-up to the ending.
I just thought this is interesting. So, because I've been kind of advocating for how either we both have that Star-Lord, like his character usually starts off in the moment kind of more on the serious side or seemingly serious, and then breaks off into some sort of comic relief.
Yeah.
But this is kind of like the opposite, right? There's there's nothing else for them to do. They got nothing to lose but try just whatever, right? So he starts it off with the comedy, but then flips it and then ends up being like, I'm going to sacrifice. Like they know what happens when you grab onto it, right? So he's doing it thinking he's just going to die, but at least getting it away from Ronan, right? So he goes from the comic relief to the like, no, like this has to be done.
Yeah.
This is like the one thing that I can do that is like kind of seemingly serious. So I think, I like that. I like that we get to the end of this movie and this is where Star-Lord has come. Like it's still him to go in those moments, but like reversing the moments, just kind of showing it's like a different kind of layer of him.
Yeah, for sure. Well, to go actually back to the beginning of this act, though.
Oh, sorry.
No, totally fine. I forgot that we're doing Act 3.
Yeah.
We got the Dark Aster is the name of Ronan's ship. And we've got this really great, awesome Ronan scene here where he uses the stone on himself and declares war on Thanos. He kind of puts it in himself. Everyone's like, "No, Master, don't do it." You got the other guy, not the accuser, the pursuer.
The pursuer.
You've got him being like, "No, don't do it," and he does it, but then he can't really. It looks like he can't control the power because it's too much, and then so he has to place it into the weapon of his, that giant hammer. Now I don't know if that's true or if he just does it as well and places it into the hammer, but I like that he does it. It's very cool.
Well, I wonder if it's similar to the image or the kind of visual we got from when the Collector was explaining to them that there were these celestial beings or like ancient beings who had tools in order to wield the stones.
Right.
So I kind of wonder. I mean, like he did seem like he was able to hold it for himself, but I think it probably implies that he wouldn't have been able to sustain it forever, like permanently.
Or maybe use it.
That's why he.
Like,
Maybe and so that's why he has that tool.
Yeah. It is very interesting, though. I just love that scene. I also love that we just instantly declares war on Thanos, which is so bold. And then Thanos just like cuts the communication right away. It's like it's so good. It's also like I'm scared for Ronan in that moment. Like I'm like whoa. But if there was an alternate movie where we got to see like the two villains just fight it off and the Guardians just kind of didn't have to worry about it, like that would have been so cool.
That would have been really cool.
Yeah, I would love to see Thanos just beat him up. Like,
yeah, but I would want to see Ronan with all the stones versus Thanos, because I feel like that would be more of a match, right?
That's pretty crazy, but I love it. Anyways, so we also have a small thing where Nebula joins up with Ronan because she secretly actually wants to defeat Thanos as well. So that's also quite interesting. We have a small scene where Quill alerts the Nova Corps of the attack on Xandar. This is actually just seen in Nova Prime when they're talking, and he gets the dick message as he says it.
They got my dick message.
I love how they're like, can you trust him? It's like, I don't think anybody's 100% a dick, ma'am.
What's this message? Like, I know I'm an a-hole.
Yeah, but I'm not 100%.
I'm not 100% a dick.
It's so good.
That's great.
So then we get the Ravagers all teamed up to go and defend Xandar. from the Dark Aster. Now, this is just so many medieval-sounding words. Jeez, I can't do this. So this is a really cool scene where all the Ravager ships are all shooting at the Dark Aster, which then starts like shooting at a bunch of ships to then fire back at them. It's this crazy space battle. Yondu gets shot down. I'm going down. He pretty much goes, I'll see you in the end of the movie.
yeah, exactly. Like he's confident, like he's not dying.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
He's gonna see him after.
Yeah.
Like, okay. Yeah.
I really like how the hole has been shot into the side of the Dark Aster, and for some reason, I don't know why, but their ships are so far away to then get to the hole. Like, I don't know why they didn't just use the ships that were shooting the hole initially to then go into it, but whatever. So they then try to fly closer to the hole, but they can't because all these other... What were those ships called?
Okay, so these ones are called... Wait, Yondu kills a whole crew of necrocrafters.
Okay, yeah.
So I don't know if the necrocrafters are the
beings.
The beings.
They're probably
or
the soldiers.
The ships. Yeah, maybe
We'll just refer to them as the necrocrafters. But they start shooting.
The necros.
They start shooting our heroes too much, and I love that moment where the Nova Corps kind of comes in out of nowhere, and they got these weird starfish kind of ships, and they just come in.
Those are cool.
They look crazy, and they just come in and start saving the day, and it's a really good moment. You're like, yeah, here comes the police, and yeah, that's pretty fun. And then we get our heroes jumping into the Dark Aster ship. So in here we get a couple things that happen. Nebula kind of stops them right away, and what does she get hit by again? Is it a rocket?
I don't think it's the rocket. I think it's just some other like gun that Drax had.
Yeah, she just
so I think
away.
he picked one up from like one of the necrocrafters.
Right.
Also, is this just before? Because they bumped into Korath, and then when Korath the Pursuer.
Oh yeah.
So he sees Starlord, and then he's like, Starlord, finally! He's just so stoked.
What's hilarious, in the theaters, I didn't get the joke. I didn't know what he was getting at. Like, when he said Starlord and he said finally, I thought he meant like finally as in like I've been wanting to fight you this whole time.
Oh,
and I didn't, like, the joke went way over my head, and the whole theater was laughing though, and I was like, what? I don't understand. So I actually had to watch it again, and then I understood that joke. But yeah, that's really good. And Gamora also fights Nebula in the scene, so she's having a battle with Nebula as she's trying to disable the ship. I don't actually know what she's doing. She's doing something in the ship.
I think she's trying to like turn off the whole like power so it can just go down or something.
Trying to get that thing out of the cylinder thing.
yeah.
And
get the thing out of the thing.
You've got Quill, Drax, and Groot fighting the soldiers, which is interesting. This movie's not afraid to break up their heroes and also put them in different combinations that they haven't been in before. So this is a really awesome moment where you got Quill fighting people, Drax fighting people, Groot fighting people, and they're all using their strengths in completely different ways. It's quite... I love the moments with Groot where eventually he just kind of just gets fed up and just starts like taking out everybody. Like, there's a moment where Quill and Drax just kind of realize that Groot's the powerhouse to them all.
And I like the scene because like, so while Groot is doing that, you know, Starlord looks over at Drax and Drax just has this
smile.
Like really funny. It's not even just like it's almost just like a kid playing with his toy kind of smile, right? Yeah. It's not like a love smile, but it's just like it's that kind of genuine smile. And then Groot finishes, and then he has the exact same smile.
Yeah, that's so good.
Those are good moments. Yeah.
So we've got the Nebula and Gamora fight as well happening. Now Nebula ends up getting knocked away by Gamora. They've got this weird hatred, and I gotta say, I don't like Nebula in this film, but I do like Nebula. It's a very strange relationship. In this film, I think she's just kind of annoying. It's just very frustrating because she's always yelling. And it's not her fault. It's just what the character is.
Yeah. But also, like, we have so many antagonists, right?
Yeah,
and they have different characteristics. And this is just like the kind of like the crybaby one, right?
Exactly.
So,
but they make up for that in the second one. They do a really good job with Nebula, I think, in the second movie, and then later on in the films. Anyways, I like this moment where Gamora offers her help, and it's kind of Gamora's final act for her story structure going on here, where she's trying to get Nebula to be there with her, and then they can start something anew. And I just really like that moment. I think it's great. And Nebula escapes and lands on a ship and flies away into the sunset. So we've got an interesting moment where the Necrocrafters...
Sure.
They start dive bombing onto the Xandar planet, and... I love when the Ravagers come out of nowhere and start saving the people on Xandar by shooting up at the Crafters. The Ravagers, it's so funny. It's like something that it looks like they would never be doing. It's like a bunch of pirates that are now just suddenly saving a town. It's just a funny moment there. I really enjoy it.
Yeah. It's that common goal.
Yeah.
Fight for the common goal.
It's
basically Independence Day, but in the space.
That's true. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
This is also where you've got all of the... Nova Corps making their giant Nova shield thing for the Dark Aster ship, which is just a really cool visual. I love that blanket as they try to stop the ship. And it's actually quite sad when Ronana, hey, there's a Ronana, it's in the script, I got it, Ronana, when he uses his staff and starts pushing through with his ship, and then the ship breaks through the Nova Corps shield. That's such a sad moment where Saul's like, Rocket, and then like dies. And Rocket feels the death quite a bit too, which is again kind of the ending to Rocket's story arc there. Now he's felt that. He's felt somebody who cared about him who's lost. And it was just like losing a comrade in battle. So for Rocket, that's a big deal. And I really like that moment. It really humanizes him, and it humanizes the Nova Corps, and just a good moment.
I agree.
I didn't know where to put the scene, but there's a scene where Yondu gets out of his ship and uses his awesome whistle.
Oh, that's a little bit earlier. That's actually just after Drax shoots Nebula.
Oh, okay.
And then we kind of cut away for a little bit.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So remind me, or before this scene, the only time we've seen him use that little needle thing, like he didn't actually kill anybody yet.
No, he hasn't killed anybody with whistle.
He's only threatened. Yeah, he's only shown. So like we have to wait until like the third act to see just how
powerful,
crazy, like how powerful. Yeah, just like how much damage he can cause with that.
Yeah.
And like
it's quite intimidating.
I love this scene too.
I love this weapon. He's the only one who can wield this weapon. Like it's such a weird idea, but I love it. He has so much power. He doesn't do anything with it except for just take out all these guys. And that's why I think if you wanted Quill dead, Quill would be dead, right? There's so much more to it than that. It's really good.
Yeah. So I liked it because for Yondu's character, it's just a very like short and sweet thing. Like this is what he's like. This is what he can do. That's all you need to know. Yep. Boom. Done. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great.
They clearly knew they were going to do more with Yondu later on. They wrote in a lot of great lines to insinuate stuff for the next one. And it's just well done. Really well done.
Yeah.
So
agreed.
We've got the heroes meeting up again. Groot, Quill, Gamora, and Drax. They meet up and they go to fight Ronana.
Ronana.
There's a good moment where Ronana is looking away at Xandar, and then they shoot the rocket. This is when they decide to use the rocket.
Finally.
Yeah, so they shoot the rocket at him, which does nothing. Or they think it does something until it does nothing. And then he gets hit with another rocket, which is literally Rocket coming in on the ship, which is a really good moment. I love that. He just
with the rocket.
Yeah, he comes flying in on the ship and just kind of suicide bombs into Ronana.
And Drax.
Yeah, hits Drax as well, which is crazy. But Drax is okay, apparently. So
apparently, yeah, he's a tough guy.
Also, a scene we kind of skipped over before, too, where it's when Groot ends up shooting out all the fireflies and lighting up the room. I really like that moment. And I love Drax's little speech there, where he's like, I'm happy to call you, or I'm happy to be with you as my companions, or whatever he says. It's just a good moment where he's just like, he's actually apologizing for his mistake of Ronan. He's actually saying sorry, but he's also saying like he's so happy to be alongside these people, and I just love that moment. It's really good for Drax.
It's nice. It's a nice balance. Like I'd say it would be very cliche if we get this big, strong, kind of like stupid guy who would break down like more emotionally, like like crybaby kind of character. Like I feel like that kind of contrast that's too cliche, or it just doesn't work. But I like how this one is less so much of like sadness or melancholy, but more of just kind of like joy.
Yeah.
Like kind of genuine happiness. So
for sure.
I think that's a better balance, which I like about this character.
I agree. And then, so speaking of characters, then we get into this moment after Rocket comes in and hits Ronana. We got Groot who makes the big ball, and he starts to create this protective ball cocoon thing for everybody to be shielded in. I really like how it's like wrapping up onto the ship, and it's like creating those little tendrils going out onto the ship and stuff to hold it together. It's really touching. And then obviously Groot's line with the "We are Groot" is that's great. It gets me every time. It's so good. And like you just know it, even though he's not really saying much. You just know, that there's so much behind those words. It's really good.
Yeah.
Especially with Rocket.
It's really
Rocket
just
is selling it too, for sure. So
yeah, exactly. I think it's just the "we" part is probably the most important word out of all those, right? Because obviously that's the easiest for the audience to translate, but it's also symbolizing that they're finally a group that is doing something together, rather than like a bunch of individuals that are doing something side by side. Yeah. They're actually in this together. Yeah.
Yeah. He's such a good character. I really like it. Then there's the explosion, the ship crashes, and we get the famous dance off with Ronana and Starlord that we already went into. Subtle, taking it back.
Break it down hard.
Someday. What are you doing? It feels really out of place. And that's what we were trying to say earlier. Is that it does feel like they're about to go for a cop-out ending, but then they just slap you so hard with instantly the stone grab in slow-mo where Star-Lord ends up reaching, grabbing the stone, and it's pretty crazy because you think he's gonna die, and it's not until the moment when Gamora says like she's just like reaching with her hand, and you're like, oh, he's gonna grab her hand, but then even further she says the same lines his mother said from the beginning of the movie, and they even flash back to it. It's just like, oh my god, it gets you so hard. It's really well done. And then you think that Gamora and him are going to commit suicide until you realize they can all share the power. And that's great. That moment, I love how they take their time with that. Like, it's so much time involved and everybody slowly taking in the power. And then when they do, there's even a really good beat where they're all suffering together and then they slowly just control it. And it's like, it's great watching that. It feels amazing. It's like watching Dragon Ball Z or something. It's so cool.
Yeah, I like. I think the cinematography was done really well, or just like the imagery.
Yeah.
Because we have it looks like constant chaos, like all around them, but also within them. Like the screen is shaking and everything, and then they finally kind of mellow out. But just the Guardians are the ones who are like, they're now solid, but everything else behind them is still like going crazy, right?
Yeah.
So it's because they're together, they're able to be like a unified solid unit. Yeah, it looks. I really like how that looked.
Me too.
Really cool.
And what's interesting is all four of them, just the four of them, can control the stone, right? So if they had Groot in there as well, I wonder if that would be even easier for them to control the stone. And I also wonder if they could all control the Infinity Gauntlet with all stones. If they had that together and shared it, I wonder if they could. Maybe not. And also, maybe they couldn't have held the Power Stone that long either. Maybe they couldn't keep going that way because Gamora does quickly put it into the capsule, the Pokeball. So
yeah, right. That's true. So I was actually wondering because earlier, a little bit earlier on, Rocket was actually holding on to twigs, like remnants of Groot.
Yeah.
So I wonder if maybe during the moment, like, we can consider that he was still holding on to Groot, so there was kind of like a fifth body.
Being, yeah.
Or fifth
I was wondering that too.
maybe?
Yeah. It could be implied, I guess. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, they completely destroy Ronana, which pretty quickly with the Power Stone. So I guess Thanos doesn't need to worry anymore.
Yep.
And
like he ever did.
Yondu comes to then take the stone from Peter, who gives it up pretty quickly, pretty easily. And we get a nice...
And this is...
What? Go ahead.
This is actually where we find out, like, as they're leaving. So after... Actually, sorry, go first, because I have a feeling what you're saying comes before mine.
Oh, I was just going to say that while they take the stone from him and then they go up into their ship, and that's when we get a little bit more backstory on Peter.
I see. Yeah. I was just going to say that this is where the Ravager said, too bad he didn't know that we were hired by his dad to pick him up or something like that.
Right, yeah. I guess I missed
we should have told him.
I guess I missed that means that's why they were there at the very beginning of the movie. I didn't even think about that, but yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's just, that guy's an asshole. Just like... oh, it's so point blank. It's really funny. And then, then we get a scene on Nova Prime where they start already honoring the Guardians of the Galaxy. They talk about how Quill's got some kind of alien celestial stuff inside of him that they can't totally recognize.
Something ancient.
Which is interesting. Good reference for the next Guardians movie we're going to get to. And that's also why Peter can survive in space and why he's amazing.
Why his eyes can go red.
This is also where they show that they rebuilt the Milano because it got completely destroyed, which is great.
Right.
Also, I guess his boombox and his tape from the first one are both fine because it was playing at the end of the dance battle there. So I guess those were salvaged from the old Milano to the new Milano. And then we get that really great scene at the end there where the Guardians are heading off and he says, "Where should we go?" And he's like, bit of good, or what should we do? Bit of good, bit of bad?
Bit of bad.
Yeah.
Bit of both.
Bit of both. That's such a good little thing. It's really smart. There was one great scene, though, just before this, too, where we see Yondu, and all the Ravagers are partying, and he's looking at the capsule. And this is what I love, is he's looking at the capsule, and he's thinking, I was told not to open this because the stone's inside it, with all the power. And he cracks it open, and he sees the little toy thing that he can...
Little troll
that he could put on his dash, And and he smiles. Like, he smiles right away. And I love that, because it's actually kind of a fatherly thing. Like, his son just, played a prank on him, It's so good. Like, it's almost like he was expecting it. It's very well done.
I mean, he basically duped him in the beginning of the movie,
Exactly.
and now he dupes him again at the end of the movie, but it's different now.
I do like that so much, though. It's really well done. I almost feel like he knew from the moment, but then just decided to go along with it. Great. Yeah, and that's the end of
Yeah.
that movie. We get to the after credit scenes. Not too much here. Both kind of jokey, I think. One is just Groot and Drax. Baby Groot dancing. Ba-da-ba-ba.
Dancing Groot.
Drax doing the head thing. I actually remember not... I feel so cynical, but I remember not liking this scene in the theater because it felt like it was like going on too long. It just kept...
Oh, like so drawn out?
Yeah,
right?
it was very drawn out, and I was like, really? Like, they're not going to cut it yet? Like, I got the joke, and it was funny, but then it just kept going, and I was like,
I think I remember thinking this right when this scene finished. Like, this is going to be like this
gonna be
dancing
huge.
Groot is gonna be like a very popular toy.
Oh, yeah, and it was. I was working
Yeah.
at EB Games at the time, and this was like the figurine everyone wanted, and there was multiple versions.
Yeah.
There's obviously the pop vinyls, but there was also little there was little animatronic ones you could buy. There was large animatronic ones you could buy. It was crazy. So
Yeah.
yeah, and I actually got my job at EB Games right after seeing this too, because this was summer, I believe, and I got it in September. So this was not my first EB Games job, but this is at a very large mall where it was really busy all the time. So we were crazy selling these Groot toys.
The
Groot
town of
toys.
Metro.
The town of Metro, you're right.
Yeah.
So then we also get another after credit scene with the Collector. This is a very strange one where we've got the Astro dog licking his face.
Yeah.
And then we cut to Howard the Duck, out of all people. And it's so weird, but he's there and he's drinking a drink.
He's there.
Yeah.
And I can't remember why they wanted to include him, but he is a Marvel Comics character.
I guess they just want to reference an old Marvel Comics character and movie that kind of failed. So I guess they just want to reference it, but
Yeah.
whatever.
And he comes back later.
Howard the Duck will return.
What is it? No, it's an Endgame we see him.
Endgame,
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, that's Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm quite pleased with the film. I was very happy to watch it.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but for me, I'm putting this film in my top 3 for the films that we've seen so far.
Ooh.
This one is going to actually go as my second No, I'm sorry. This is actually going to go as my first favorite film we've seen so far, and my second being Winter Soldier, and my third being Iron Man 1.
Let's see. So I guess, yeah, for what we've seen so far, Guardians of the Galaxy would be my third favorite.
What was your first?
Yeah. Winter Soldier.
Okay, and then...
Oh, actually, wait, sorry, no, wait. This would not be third because... oh, I see. Because Right. This list includes, like, kind of like everything. It includes Endgame and Civil War. So, technically, this would be second... Wait, what was your top 3 again?
It goes this one now, then Winter Soldier, then Iron Man 1.
Oh, Iron Man. I see. Okay. Right. Iron Man 1 is the one I didn't know where to place yet. I'd say, okay, it's probably... Oh, definitely within the top 5
Yeah.
for the movies that we've seen up until now. But I'll have to find a place for Iron Man.
Okay.
Oh, it's so tough because now it's been a while since I've seen it. I kind of need to like rewatch it all over again. Because like now that I've been rewatching everything, like everything feels different.
It does. It really does.
After I finished just watching it.
But
like,
Iron
when it's
Man 1
fresh.
it was so good, man. It was such a good movie.
It was really good. Where do I put it? I might put it just before Guardians, actually.
Okay.
So I'm going to say unofficially, until I curate my list a bit better, my top 3 will be Winter Soldier, Iron Man, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Nice. Good list.
For now.
I think it's saying a lot that we have the same list pretty much at the beginning here. We've seen quite a bit of films, actually. This is our 10th episode, so we've seen 10 films now. And
Holy!
And so those are our top 3. We both have the same top 3. It's pretty crazy.
We're just under halfway through the MCU.
Yes, we are.
Oh boy.
Okay, so Anth0z, what is your worst character of this film?
What was Glenn Close's character? Nova Prime? Is that her name? Nova Prime?
Yeah, Nova Prime, I believe. Yeah.
Nova Prime.
I thought Nova Prime was. Oh no, the Nova Core is them. I thought Nova Prime was location, but actually she might be Nova Prime.
Is it? Yeah, Glenn. It is Glenn Close, right? Yeah. Maybe her. I don't know. Like
Not really memorable.
no, I think because like she seemed like she's supposed to be like a prominent character, but she doesn't really add much to anything.
She also doesn't give opinions much. She kind of goes along with what everybody else says. Maybe that's what a commander should be doing, but she doesn't really like direct this story at all.
Yeah. Otherwise, like I don't know. Okay, if we're picking from best and worst characters, should we be limiting to like the ones who would be like? Should we not even include Nova Prime as one?
No, you can throw on whoever you want. It can be an extra if you wanted to.
Okay. Let's just go with Nova Prime for now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mine's definitely Nebula because
Yeah, had a feeling.
I don't think Nebula's horrible. Definitely not. It's just there could have been more. I think more depth of field to the character.
Yeah.
But I also know they were trying so much in this movie, and it really worked. Almost everything in this movie worked. I feel like Nebula doesn't work. I don't think it's the actress's fault. I don't think it's really even the character. I just think this was not the movie for her. So
Yeah.
that's the worst character, unfortunately. But worst character in a movie full of amazing characters. So that's kind of a hard race. Anyways,
very true.
Anth0z, what's your best character?
Oh, I wanted to say Yondu, but
Oh, he's so good.
I'll wait for that. I think I'm just gonna go with Starlord.
Yeah,
I think I just had like a really fun time watching him, and his character just like always makes sense to me, and yeah, Starlord.
I agree with you. But I could go with many characters here, but I'm actually gonna go with Drax. Now I don't know if he actually is the best character of this film. I mean, I know it's subjective, but just watching it on this recent time, I found I was so interested in Drax. Like, he's got really good emotional scenes, but he's got really, really funny scenes as well. So I enjoyed watching him on screen the whole time. So I really like Drax in this movie.
Nice, good.
Do you want to do this? I think this one's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, which one do you have? Which?
What?
Oh, that one. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
So, how does this movie rate as a piece of a bigger picture, like how comics are pieces of arcs? So, I would definitely say this opens up a lot of opportunity for more searching afterwards. So, I'd say like I like how this kind of has a we open enough with the characters that we don't get the full origins. So there's more opportunity later on. Like I would expect that in subsequent arcs in the comics that we would find out more about each of the characters' pasts. Probably something that ends up showing us why they wouldn't work out together, and like why they would inevitably like fight and disagree on something and then have to grow upon that and come back together again. And then obviously with introducing the Infinity Stones, that's kind of just like that opens just a huge can of worms. So I'd say because we have a lot of opportunities for kind of like prequels and sequels, then I think this does rate really well as a comic, as a piece of an arc.
Yeah, I agree. I think out of all the movies we've seen so far, this one fits this question the best. I think it's got many different ways it can go. I know eventually the Guardians are introduced into the kind of other MCU characters, although it does take a long time. But, and it is really what I want. I want them all to meet up, and yet at the same time, they never would have had to. They probably could have made like 5 Guardians movies, and we could have just watched them all, and they would have never had to have met up, and we still would have loved them. And they could have done so many crazy things and met so many other people, and it really is the movie where you can throw in whatever you want to throw in. So, yeah. Cool. All right. Anything else you want to say about Guardians of the Galaxy before we move on?
I wonder if somebody officially put together like a mixtape, like Awesome Mix Volume 1 and Awesome Mix Volume 2 to to resale under like the Guardians of the Galaxy kind of label, but I kind of doubt it.
Well, apparently on Spotify for like a few months after the movie was out, there was like an official Guardians playlist for the first movie, and it was the most listened to thing on Spotify for a couple months there. So it really was popular. Yeah.
Let's see what it's called. Awesome Mix Volume 1. Let's see what comes up.
What would be great?
Oh, actually,
it'd be great to get the cassette player and get it on cassette tape and just play it that way. I think it'd be awesome.
Actually, yeah, that would be cool. So, yeah, there is the album playlist.
Yeah.
Official motion picture soundtrack for Awesome Mix Volume 1 and 2.
There you go.
And, yeah, nice.
Yeah.
But this is also... So, it looks like there's a mixture because there's some old songs, but it also looks like there might be a couple here that are meant just for the movie? Okay, I don't know for sure, but I'd have to kind of go through them all. But, anyway...
Yeah.
No more to say. I'm happy with the movie. I would watch it again.
So would I, right now.
Definitely. Yeah.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you for listening to the podcast here, everybody. Be sure to catch us on our next Marvel Marathon episode, which is going to be, surprisingly enough, The Avengers 2: Age of Ultron.
Yes, the Avengers go to the Age of Ultron.
They do. This is actually, I'm excited to talk about this one because this is where Disney ends up purchasing the MCU. And this was the first movie of it. I remember that because the trailer to Age of Ultron played the Pinocchio song. and everyone went, "Ooh, this is
Oh,
Disney
what?
taking over." Well, if you remember in the trailer to Age of Ultron, it goes like, "I got no strings upon this." Da, 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 but they did it in this like creepy way, like.
Right. I thought you meant like when you wish upon a star or something like.
That would have been funny though.
Odd.
When you wish upon. But I think Disney didn't really know what they wanted to do to put their trademark kind of statement on it, and so they went with that, and it actually worked quite well with Ultron's kind of stuff. But we'll get into that. But I'm excited to talk about it. That was a fun one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. Cool. Awesome.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks so much for listening, everybody. Have a good one.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Bye.